Attention, please. Third reading, please.
Well, earlier, Deputy Speaker of the House, Edison Ehie, while presenting the report of the ARC Committee to the House, said the committee recommended that RISA and Rivers State Ministry of Environment be empowered to enforce the law as contained in the bill.
Nobody is being stopped from advertising, but there are laws that must be followed. So RISA, the power to give to them, with appropriate sanctions are contained in our bill. Also, the last of the conversion of public residential properties to commercial is also given to the powers have been bestowed on the Ministry of Urban, and we agree with that in our recommendation to regulate and apply appropriate sanctions and measures where necessary in case of order.
Well, the bill seeks to prohibit the use of residential buildings for non-residential purposes, prohibit outdoor advertisements, particularly posting of bills, posters, and other materials, and the use of state-owned institutions or public schools for political campaigns. Correspondent Emeka Otuka reports that the House also passed into law the Rivers State Heritage Preservation Bill 2022 and the Rivers State Climate Change Bill 2022. Now, reacting to this, the Rivers State civil society organizations says it is only the National Assembly and not state assemblies that can enact laws in all states of the Federation as it affects political parties, whether activities of advertisement or not. The organization in a statement said the bill will be used as a smokescreen to gag opposition parties in the state. The statement said Section 1, Subsection 1, which states that nobody shall use a residential building for a non-residential purpose except with the prior permission of the State Commissioner for Urban Development and Physical Planning, is a duplication of an existing law in the same ministry. It said the bill contravenes Section 95, Subsection 2 of the amended Electoral Act, which prohibits any state from creating a situation whereby a political party or its candidates are given undue advantage in the campaign process. It also said if the concern of the state government is that of protection of public facilities during political campaigns and rallies, the Electoral Act has already taken care of that by entrusting the Commissioner of Police in states with the responsibilities of providing adequate security for peaceful and orderly campaigns. It also said if political parties should apply within 2 weeks, it means they will have limited time to cover the 23 local governments in Rivers State, and this will infringe on the rights of parties to freely campaign as guaranteed by the Constitution. Well, Chairman of the Rivers State Civil Society Organizations, NFI George Will, kicked against the bill.
When it comes to political parties, elections, and anything surrounding it, it is within the purview of the National Assembly. And that political parties are not businesses. And to be clear, the Electoral Act didn't give power to the federal government or the state government. The Electoral Act gave power to INEC and the police. On that note, I would want to say that as regards political parties, the aspect that as regards political parties, this law is dead on arrival. That is our opinion.
The Accord governorship candidate in Rivers State, Dumolulu Briggs, says 2023 is a defining moment for the state and is asking Rivers people to vote for him only if they think that their collective aspirations can be realized through him. Well, Mr. Lulu Briggs said this when he received prominent grassroots women and their supporters who defected from the PDP and APC into Accord over the weekend.
You see, you have to be selfish about the next elections. It's about your future and that of your children. 2023 is a defining moment in our history as a people. 2023. So the reason you vote for me is because through me you see that you can also realize your own aspirations for yourself. So you need to ask yourself whether or not I have the capacity to expand the economy of Rivers State to accommodate all of us. It is very important. You need to ask yourself whether I have the capacity to strengthen our institutions of states to hold all our aspirations.
On his part, High Chief James Francis from HA said the women decided to give their support to Dumolulu Briggs because they find him trustworthy and benevolent.
The women of Rivers State stood en masse. The leaders of women of Rivers State stood en masse and decided to give their support to High Chief Barrister Dumolulu Briggs, the flag bearer of Accord Party in Rivers State. These women had said that they would give their support and deliver Rivers State to a man that is trusted, a benevolent man, a man that has passion.
But those who defected to the accord include the woman leader of host community of oil and gas producing areas, Mrs. Mercy Gani from Eche, former PDP woman leader Inoyibo Nkechi Umezo, Mrs. Grace Okpara from Obiakpo, Blessing Ezebungo, and Mrs. Gift Dandison from Falga, Mrs. Patience Iye from Onelga, and Mrs. Veronica Joseph from Abu-Odual. Others are Chief Charles Oporom, a retired military officer, and John Walezi, both from Eche. In another development, the crisis between the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar and the 5 aggrieved PDP governors may be far from over. But this is as Governor of Benue State, Samuel Otom, shunned Mr. Atiku at the Makurdi Airport in Benue State, where Mr. Abubakar, whose presidential campaign is expected to hold in Nasarawa State today, decided to fly to Benue because he could not secure a landing clearance in Nasarawa. Well, Governor Otom was also at the airport, and many thought he was there to receive the PDP presidential candidate. But it turned out he was at the airport to receive Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike, where Mr. Atiku was later received by his running mate, Ifeanyi Okowa, and other party members. Moving on now, a large crowd was seen today at the Elibolo INEC office following the distribution and collection of PVCs, which began nationwide today. Now, some of the people who came to collect their cards complained of the slow pace of distribution.
I've been here well over 3.5 hours. I've not even been attended to. In the course of my own wash, not more than 4 persons have taken cards. They will attend to one person, go back to the drawing board, looking through the list, checking until if he sees, he gives to you. If he doesn't, all these things are indeed time-consuming.
The process is hectic actually. You have to come early enough to stand on the queue. They'll tell you stay on the line, but obviously they are taking from behind to access other people.
Just the only problem is that I think they have short of staff. The workers there, they are trying. But the crowd here is much beyond what they can do.
We should talk about up and doing computer-skilled personnel. All these names are already imputed into the system.
An INEC official who spoke anonymously said they will find a better way to contain the crowd in the coming days. Moving on, INEC says no critical election materials were destroyed in the attack on its state headquarters office in Owerri, Imo State today. The commission stated this in a statement by its chairman of Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye. Still ahead, e-hailing cab driver assaulted by men in police uniform. Stay tuned.
No be by the name, no be by the size. Now God they give power, no be man they give power. Experienced leader we get the fear of God. Siminyala ifubara, na him be our choice. People say, Chineke meka, be awele. Sinala ifubara o, ibuye ya wudiga. Abwami nago, enamadi onu mabiyo. Sinala ifubara o, Adibala Rivers State. Olo tiki, awajo woni.
Welcome back now. An e-hailing cab driver, Victor Kwame, says he was assaulted by some men dressed in police uniform at Ogbogoro in Port Harcourt on Friday. Mr. Kwame, in an interview with our correspondent, said the men, who had an anti-courtism unit written on their uniforms, inscribed on their uniforms, accused him and his client of internet fraud and handcuffed them to their office. He said the police officers started assaulting him when he questioned why they were asked to write statements contrary to what happened. But Mr. Kwame also said he was only let go when one of the officers discovered he was also a journalist. In business, the United Nations says plastic waste in Nigeria has been on the increase due to the increasing consumption of plastics by citizens across the country. UNIDO country representative and regional director for West Africa, Jean Bakole, who made this known, said the consumption of plastics in Nigeria jumped by 116.26% within a period of 15 years to 1.25 million tons.
And now, we'll bring you news from around the world.
Iran says it has publicly hanged a 23-year-old in what is the second execution linked to the recent anti-government protests. Majidreza Ranavad was hanged this morning in the city of Mashhad. A court convicted him of enmity against God after finding he had stabbed to death 2 members of the paramilitary Basij resistance force. Ranavad was hanged just 23 days after his arrest. Human rights groups have warned that protesters are being sentenced to death after sham trials with no due process. And that's the news. But before we go, another look at the major stories. On the news this evening, you heard that CSOs have kicked against the Rivers State Advertisement Use of State-Owned Property Prohibition Bill 2020 passed into law today. Governor Mike and his Benue State counterpart Samuel Otom shunned the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar in Makdi today. INEC says there is no election material destroyed facility, and on the foreign scene executed a 3-year-old tester in public. The news was edited by Martha Okere. Cloudy weather expected in Port Harcourt this evening. Collect your PVC and vote. Your vote is your voice. I'm Constance Mega. Thank you for listening.